You or a loved one have been subject to a Dranith magistrate, you may be entitled to financial compensation. Side effects include unnecessarily complaining on Twitter, the inability to cast your commander, and overblowing a situation for no reason whatsoever.
Chase, I'm going to stop you right there because
Mm.
that is so last week. We've
Yeah,
already moved on. We're talking about Panharmamicon now.
that's fair. But I am afraid of conflict. So we're going to talk about last week's stuff instead.
Why don't we just talk about this past year in general? Because we're going to do a
Mhm.
2022 year in review for Commander. Did you like that segue?
It was so sick and smooth. That only took one take, didn't it?
Totally. Totally. We haven't been trying to do this for like 8 minutes.
No, we haven't. We're professionals. We just come in and we just like we know. We just off each other, It's great.
We are in fact one take Terry's and one take Tammy's.
One take Terry's. Oh my god. I love
Yeah,
it.
I love
Anyway,
Terry.
you
Anyways,
love to see it.
there were a lot of cards that were released this year. There was a lot of discourse this year. There was a lot of actually there weren't any bans this year. Like Commander, despite nothing changing on like a
Mhm,
macro level from the RC and the CAG, changed a ton. And
mhm.
I think it's really, really interesting to talk about. So we're gonna talk about that this week. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to talk about some like macro level format things, like trends that we've noticed this year. And then we're going to go set by set and talk about a couple of our favorite cards because
Mm.
that's what we're here for. We're here to talk about Magic. We're here to talk about cards and getting better at Magic and getting better at our deck building by playing with the new cards because the new cards are insane.
They definitely are. I will say this is definitely a 2022 year in review. I will also say that this year has felt like six.
Yeah.
Um, And honestly, when we were sitting down, jotting down like brief little notes, you told me that there were like what four like main sets,
Four main
like
sets,
act.
four commander sets. There was 40K. The 40K commander precons, and then
Yeah.
we also had Unfinity, which also like put another 100 cards in the format technically, and then
Mm-hmm.
Jumpstart.
It's a lot. Geez, well, hold on. There was also Jumpstart for each other set too. So there was Jumpstart 2022. Then there was Jumpstart for Dominaria. I remember. Like, there's just a lot that has been released this year, and there's a lot to go over. And we kind of wanted to talk about some of our highs and lows. Thoughts about this year overall, the concept of like the story, redesign aspects, and all around just like our favorite pieces from main sets and supplemental sets as
Mm-hmm.
well.
So I guess let's like dive right in.
Mhm.
What are some trends that you noticed for Commander this year? Because there's a few that I certainly grasped onto and the community grasped
Mhm.
onto. So I want to see
Mhm.
if we're on the same page here.
Yeah, do you want to say it on the count of 3? Like, we'll both say it at the same time?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we'll go 1, 2, 3, and then we'll say it. Okay, after
Okay.
3.
Okay.
Okay, okay. 1,
One,
2,
two,
3.
three. Treasures and
Treasures.
Goad.
Yeah. You have Goad, and I've noticed some aspects of Goad, but treasures are, like, in the forefront of my
Treasures is
skull.
like the big thing.
Yeah.
Goad was big for like a month.
It was
And
big
then
for
it,
a
and then
month.
it fell off and people kind of realized, oh wait, no, Goad is actually good. Goad moves
Yeah.
games, so we don't have 3 hour long slog fests.
Yeah, and I appreciate Goad. As a Planeswalker player, I appreciate Goad because fun fact, Goad can't hit my Planeswalkers. You gotta hit my face. And I, for one, love that.
Uh there are some ways around that, but yeah, you're totally right. You have to attack the players usually. So your Super Friends decks are heinously dangerous at a Goad
Yep.
table.
And I love,
Uh
love, love that for myself.
I love live laugh like I love live laugh lightning bolting planeswalkers.
My heart. But yeah, there
So
was a lot of there
yeah.
was a lot of treasures. There was a lot of Goad. Um, but I mean, if we're gonna be honest, when we talk about treasures, um, I do think that like there's been a lot of talk about like, is this the year of treasures? I would say 1,000%.
Yeah.
Uh, New Capenna was literally just entirely treasures, like to a T.
Baldur's Gate
Just
was also a lot of
yes, it
treasures
was.
as well.
Yes, it was.
I don't know. Here's my hot take on treasures. I
Mhm.
don't think they're a bad thing. I think what's bad or problematic, I think is a healthier word.
Mhm.
What's
Mhm.
problematic about treasures is there's just not a lot of cards that keep them in check.
Yes, I would agree with that. We're seeing some come up, and we'll talk
Hmm.
about that a little bit as we go into some of our pieces. And we've even seen some people go into Magic's Pass and find good pieces that
Me,
do deal with treasures. What's that one green enchantment? What's that one green enchantment?
Viridian Revel. It's 1 and 2
There it is.
green. Whenever an artifact hits an opponent's graveyard, you may draw a card.
Mhm. It's a good card. It does a lot of
It's not
stuff.
necessarily going to like deal with the treasures. It's just that you're going to piggyback off of other people's dock
Mhm.
sides and ancient copper dragons and
Mhm.
professional face breakers and all that kind of stuff, and just maybe dig you to the answers that actually do deal with the dockside and the treasures and everything like that. So
Mhm.
that's Scars of Mirrodin. So that's like a 15-year-old card.
Yeah. And it's seeing a lot of it's seen a huge price increase and for good reason. I built a Glissa, the mono green Glissa deck for funsies for a little charity stream I did, and I popped that card in there, and actually it kept a lot of my opponents in check because especially with a lot of the new stuff in Brothers War, there's a lot of things that
Oh yeah,
sacrifice artifacts.
yeah.
So like you could just sacrifice artifacts outright, but there's also clues, food, treasures as well. All of those things, will trigger that or trigger something else. And it was really fun.
Can I make an addendum to the Year of Treasures? Yes, it was the Year of Treasures,
Yes.
but it's I would argue it's like the Year of Artifacts in general.
Yeah. A lot of it. Lot of it.
So yeah, Treasures is obviously a cut above the rest of it, but when you have Kamigawa, which was really, really artifact based, and Brothers
Oh
War,
yeah.
which was really, really artifact based, that's half of the year
It
just
is.
incredibly based on artifacts,
Yeah.
if not more,
The
because
undead.
of all the other sets being treasure focused. So
Yeah. Which I find really fascinating now that you kind of bring that up because in Brothers War we see a lot of really good artifact creatures with like an earth and abilities like that with the mana
mhm.
fixing. I find fascinating. New Capenna has nothing but treasures. Neon Dynasty, tons of equipment, but also the concept of reconfigure I thought was
Yeah.
also a very fun way to kind of add a balance to it that I really enjoyed. I find that to be really fascinating. Which I guess also kind of ties into our concept of like our highs and lows for this year because um it's weird because treasures are simultaneously a high and a low for me.
Yeah,
Um
I would agree.
it's weird. It's weird because actually this was the year that I built my Cedrus Treasures deck. And there are a lot of pieces in that deck that are new cards. In fact, I think that deck is majority new
Which
pieces
is
with the
awesome though, because
Oh
the
yeah,
new cards were able to breathe new light into a really old
old commander.
commander and
Yes.
just completely
Exactly.
reimagine it. The interesting thing for me with treasures in particular is it almost invalidated a lot of different land hate and
Mhm.
a lot of different effects that would normally keep a green deck in check. You know, as a
Mhm.
green player, I've noticed a lot of Thalia, Blood Moon,
Mhm.
Back to Basics, all that kind of stuff kind of doesn't really matter anymore because there's a lot of treasure. You have so much treasure to make up for all these different effects.
Yeah.
That concept is even bled into CEDH, where people have started cutting Blood Moon and Contagion and like all that kind of stuff from their decks because
Mhm.
there's just treasure and mana, like tons and tons of mana rocks now that it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Your mana base is kind of outside itself, which is very
Hmm.
interesting. Um and I find that oftentimes, I don't really worry as much about, um board wipes or anything like that cuz catching up is so easy.
Yeah.
Which not bad, but like
No.
it's weird. It's different. It's new, you know.
At the same time, like I think like I've never seen a Stony Silence or a Yasharn at a casual table until this year.
Mhm. Yeah.
Just to keep treasures and artifacts and everything like that in check.
Yeah.
I'm not complaining at all. Like I think it's time. If you don't want to run removal, that's another way to keep that kind of stuff in
Mhm.
check.
I don't know. I feel like this is me jumping the gun a little bit, but like there are pieces within, my Cedrus deck where like normally in literally in any other deck it wouldn't be too much of a problem, but because of the high inclusion of treasures, these pieces are
Mhm.
quite literally lethal on the board.
Yeah.
For instance, a couple pieces just come to mind. Tezzeret, Master of the Bridge. That is a one-shot kill. If you have enough treasures, murder on the board. Cyberdrive Awakener, Kappa Cannoneer, those are all Rise and
Blastoise is so
Shine.
cool.
They're so good.
If I like didn't have a deck that like played artifacts, treasures, all that kind of stuff, Blastoise would be like one of my favorite cards this year.
Oh, it's phenomenal. It's such a good card. It triggers itself when it ETBs. It gets bigger.
Mhm.
I mean it has what? It's not, is it Convoke? I don't think it's Convoke. Is it Improvise?
Improviser Affinity.
Yeah, something like that. My brain, I don't have it pulled up in front of me, but little turtle.
It's like a blue artifacts matter card that moves the game
Mhm.
along, whereas normally like artifact decks are known to be dirtily, and artifact decks this year
Yes.
got aggressive.
Yeah, it has improvise and it also has ward. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's
That's
right.
another
That's right.
thing. That's another thing
Ward,
we've seen an increase of ward. Lot of ward this year.
ward, or hype. Like if a card is hexproof, it's like super specific.
Yes. Like I saw a card on stream the other day where its ward cost was like ward X, where X is the number of experience counters you have.
Oh
I was like,
yeah,
"What?"
that's printed.
What?
That was from Baldur's Gate. It's an
Yeah.
Orzhov legend. There's also like there's the black artifact creature, the mythic from Brothers War.
Mhm.
I'm really bad at card names, if you can't tell. But its ward ability is pay life equal to its power.
Yeah,
It's
which is
like,
insane.
do you want to pay a quarter of your life to target it with something?
Mhm.
That's up to you to decide.
Yeah. It's just it's very fascinating to see kind of these trends over the
Yeah,
course of 2 years to a year.
I will say as like a final parting word on Treasure,
Mhm.
game designers at Wizards and everything like that have kind of said like we're gonna cool it on the treasures. Like
Mhm.
this year, like it just thematically worked with the sets that we happened to do this year.
Yes. And I'm glad. I'm glad they're doing that.
Thematically, like I mean, we're still gonna see treasure cards, like that's inevitable, but not to the degree that we've seen. So if
Mhm.
you're not a treasure fan, these upcoming releases in 2023 aren't gonna have as much. So you're in luck.
Huzzah, huzzah indeed.
That was a high for both of us. What was a
Yeah.
low for you?
Um I've talked about this quite publicly on a couple of podcasts and on Twitter too. The entirety of Infinity was a major low for me, unfortunately. And I don't like talking negatively about products cuz I don't like to not like something. I know that sounds like weird, but like like when you start to like get into what we do, like you really know the passion and love that goes behind the
Yeah.
creation of these sets and everything like that. Like you can see it, it's palpable. And it makes you sad because you're like, wow, was a really big flop for me.
The flavor of it's like right up your alley too.
Oh yes, I love the circus clowns. I back in the day I used to actually make my own like I would like design my own magic cards and some of them were clowns. Like I made clowns. It was a big top theme set. I made up my own back in
Hmm.
my old house for fun. So I had a really big excitement when I found out this was going to be like a carnival theme set and it was just flop after flop after flop for me and it was really heartbreaking because like the removal of silver border was, in my opinion, it put the nail in the coffin before we even saw the set.
Yeah.
That was a big issue. The instances of stickers, the fact that it didn't really feel like a joke set, and I know that they were trying to make it, a set
Marketable
that,
for commander
yeah,
players and eternal players, and just
it just didn't do it.
I think it got too complicated too quickly.
Mhm.
And that was no fault of the designers and anything like that. It's just hard to keep track of things. And like
Yeah,
you said, I
it
think
really was.
they kept a silver border instead of doing the acorn stamp. And
Mhm.
then I don't know. It'd be hard to collate silver border cards with black border cards if they did still
Yeah.
want to have some like eternal legal cards in there.
Yeah.
because I don't foresee Commander just blanket legalizing silver border cards.
I don't see that either.
So I get why they did it the way they did it. You know,
Yeah.
they wanted to market the set to a particular group of people, and people
Mm,
bought it. Like people loved the galaxy foil stuff. People loved
mm.
the shock lands
The
and
shocks,
the
yeah.
basic lands. You know, the lands are always the big thing for unsets, and those were an absolute home run.
Yeah. It's sad to me that my favorite part of Infinity were the basics. Like, that's a bummer.
There is one card that I really, really liked from
Mhm.
Infinity, and it wasn't Space Jace, because I've been considering Space Jace for Celebrity Deathmatch.
Okay.
There's this
Okay.
enchantment, and you count the number of creatures that you have, and you put an ascending number of counters on, or sorry, it's not counters. You put an ascending number, like plus one, and so on until
Oh, yeah, yeah,
you have
yeah.
like
It's
all
the
of your
parade.
creatures. Yeah.
It's the parade enchantment. That's a very good one. That's also a legal spell that you can play too as
Yes.
well, which
Yes.
is very delightful. I do like that card a lot.
I put it in my Jetmir animated lands deck so that I could hit people with like 55 pieces of dirt, and it was worth every penny. It was worth all like
Mhm.
18 cents for the card.
Yeah, it's still dirt cheap, and it's a fantastic card for your tokens deck. It is commander legal, it's very fun.
Yeah, it's just a ton of bookkeeping.
You just gotta make sure you have a good count.
Know the top end and like what cards are going to get the big buffs at the top end,
Mhm.
and then just
Yeah.
figure out the rest. Chances are it's going to finish the game or try to,
Yeah, I
so it
would agree.
doesn't really matter where the numbers go. It's just going to make big
Mhm.
numbers, which
Yeah.
big numbers go burr, and
Big
that
numbers go
that
burr.
excites me.
So what was a low for you?
I didn't build as many decks as I thought I was going to this year.
Mm,
We
mm,
kind of talked about it last week.
yeah.
There were a lot of really, really, really cool legendary creatures. There were over 400 legendary creatures this printed this year, and they were all mechanically unique and did different things, or like gave a color combination something new that they haven't been able to do much. But
Mhm,
I only built two commanders from this past year. Whereas like I
mhm.
know like you, granted you build a new commander every week that
Every
is
week.
topical, etc. Decks in general that you play in paper, I feel like you built a whole bunch of new decks in paper with newer commanders, and a lot of our friends did as well. And
Mhm.
not just because a lot of our friends are creators, and creators are kind of, the ones to build the new stuff so people can watch the new stuff. Just
Yeah.
nothing, only a few things really stood out to me to make me want to build them.
For, for me, I find that really interesting because I if I did not have my deck building stream, I would not probably have half the decks that I have. Full honesty, because like when I saw Cadric as a card, I didn't go, "This intrigues me." I was like, "Ooh, it looks cool. Let's attempt to brew it on stream." And we brewed it on stream, and then I fell in love with it and brewed it in paper.
Yeah,
Same thing to go with Alibu back in the day.
you literally like went out the next day and bought all
I
the cards for
did.
Cadric,
I
because
did.
you had Cadric, like you brewed it Tuesday on the
Yeah.
stream, and then you played it that Thursday, because I was there for that like
Yeah.
inaugural Cadric stream.
Yeah. It was amazing. It
It
was
was
great.
absurd. It was the coolest, like one of the cooler decks that I've seen this whole year.
Oh, it's fun. I love it. It's unique and different, but like, brewing takes a lot and
Yeah.
like inspiration takes a lot, which is why I'm thankful I have like a literally forced avenue of
Hmm.
creativity. Not like someone's telling me you have to stream or you're blah blah blah, but like I do because I like it and I know that I'm gonna get something out of it. And like half my decks have come from that stream, whether they're from this year or last year, but I tend to brew a lot of weird stuff because I have that stream.
Well, and you're also getting suggestions from Twitter as to what to
Yes,
build
I
as well.
am.
So you're not actually picking it yourself. So you're being forced to
Nope.
get out of your comfort zone that much more.
Yep.
You can't
All the
build
time.
every Boros commander every week. You can't build every Izzet commander every week.
One day I will. But until
A
then, we're gonna do
bold
new stuff that makes
strategy,
me
Cotton.
uncomfortable.
I'm hoping that pans out for you.
Yeah.
I only built 2 new commanders this year. Granted, like my favorite deck from this year, like outside of the artist proof deck, like that's obviously got an inherent bias towards it, was a new
Mhm.
commander, and it was from a set that you didn't really vibe with that much either.
Yeah.
Uh,
What set is that? I think I know what set.
Dominaria United.
Yeah. That set is I mean, it was a set.
I have this very healthy way of engaging with Magic where
Yeah.
I go through the cards, I find like the 8 to 12 that I really really like. I
Yeah.
pick those up, I put them into some decks, or in the case of General Marhalt El's Dragon, I go out of my way to build it because it makes two of my favorite cards of all time super playable and amazing. So I gotta build it.
Yeah. See, it's not that I didn't like Dominaria United. It's just for me, at a certain point, some of the sets started to kind of bleed
Yeah.
together. Like and I know, and I don't mean that as like a funny, haha, this is a joke. Like
It,
genuinely, I forgot Dominaria United happened, and I had skipped straight ahead to Brothers War, completely forgetting that.
I would say a big thing behind that is uh, just all the global shipping problems.
Hmm.
Just kind of forced all of these sets to be released within like 4 weeks of each other, 3 weeks of each other.
Yeah,
Because like
yeah,
the 40K commander decks and Unfinity got pushed to the same weekend as each other.
I remember that.
And then Dominaria United was like 2 or 3 weeks after that. Like everything
Yeah.
just came super, super, super quickly because the schedule just had to change. So it's no one's fault. The
Oh
initial
yeah.
the initial plan was for everything to be good. There was going to be a reasonable amount of time between everything. So that bit of fatigue, it's not even Wizards' problem either. They had to find a new printer.
Oh wow.
So we were like that set was supposed to happen in April. So we were
Yeah,
going to
I
have
remember that.
Unfinity, and then a month and a half later, we were going to get New Capenna, like which would have been great. We would have had a month and a half between all the sets.
I do want to say that in a recent weekly MTG, it was announced, I believe by Blake, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure it was by Blake, saying that Wizards has been hearing us talking about like product fatigue and
Yeah.
everything like that. And I will say this: I really appreciated him saying that. I really appreciated him saying, "Hey, listen, some of these products are years in advance," which is 1,000% true. These have been in development for a long time. You can only do so much when it comes to release dates like this. And
Hmm.
so even them, I remember him saying specifically, like the new Phyrexian set is going to be delayed by like a week. That's a pretty big deal,
Yeah.
because finding that much wiggle room in a timeline set out years in advance, is a lot. And I think that's a really good thing. And it's good to also have them say, "Hey, we hear you. This is a lot,"
Yeah.
because it has been a lot. And I think, it's just been a number of different things that have been outside of their control and our control. But I definitely think, Unfinity being not in April was a big contributor to
Yeah.
this. Cause, it wasn't supposed to be released when it did, but it had to happen that
No,
way.
they on Unfinity. The hype for Unfinity got killed by the Warhammer commander decks
Yes.
because the Warhammer commander decks were so good.
Superb.
Like one of
Stupendous.
the best standalone products ever released by Wizards, if you
Yes.
if you ask me. Like
Yes.
the flavor was a home run because clearly like
They put in the
they
effort. They put in the
yeah,
time.
they put in the time. They made 4 like really awesome decks with some really unique cards and cards with designs we've never seen before. Like there's what 140 new cards in that set or something ridiculous.
Possibly.
And like I could ooh and ah about cards from that set all day.
Hmm. Yeah.
Actually, this is a high for me with all of these sets. I feel like every time I go and look at a set and try and like dig for gold for a deck that I'm working on or a deck that I'm trying to refine with a friend, I'm always
Hmm.
finding a new card that's perfect for one of the decks that I'm working on
I've noticed
from
that.
the sets that came out this
Yeah.
year. New Capenna and Warhammer more than the other sets,
Hmm.
but I'm always finding that perfect card
Yes.
from one of the sets released this year that I've either never seen before or it's like, oh wait, that's a new card. I totally forgot about this card. I love that feeling.
Mhm.
I absolutely love that feeling.
There is a hallmark, in my opinion, of a product being good when you don't want to change it. And when it
Hmm.
comes to the Warhammer precons, I bought them specifically originally. I bought them because I was like, "Oh, these reprints are going to be fantastic. They're going to be fabulous. I'll put them in some of my decks. I'll have some good reprints and then I'll have some fun little a fun little carcass that I can do whatever I wish with later."
Yeah.
Um I refuse to take these decks apart. In fact, I am not going to. I never will. I would rather buy the single of the reprint again than take this deck apart because they're that well made. They're that well made. They're fun. They're unique. They're flavorful. They introduce me to a world and lore I don't understand, and it's just the synergies. It's just it felt fresh. It felt very 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 fresh. Which after the year we've had, it was quite surprising to find a product that felt so fresh in the midst of such a big product overload for
Yeah.
consumers.
A low for me though, another low. There's no artist proofs of them.
There's not?
Yeah, there's no artist proofs for any Universes Beyond cards at all.
Mm,
IP licensing makes sense to me.
makes sense, but
It would have been cool to
I
get a
don't like
couple of
it.
proofs of them. Yeah, it would have been cool.
Yeah, one day.
It is what it is. What is cool though,
Uh-huh.
transition. We got more
Wow, wow, wow.
Praetors. Sorry,
Yeah.
Praetors.
Yes.
And
Praetor.
they like the three that we got this year, like run the gamut in terms of like how much people loved them or hated them. And I think
Yes.
there's like flagship cards in every set. You know, you could go through every set and say like, you know, like this is the quote unquote pushed mythic to sell packs or whatever. No, no, no. They're cool cards. They're I think it's good that we're getting push cards. It gets people excited. I just
Mhm.
wish that it necessarily wasn't Praetors. The idea of the Praetors is like you get a huge advantage and your opponents get a big disadvantage inherently.
Yes. Yes.
And the three that we got this year and Elish Norn to come next year
Mhm.
are potentially polarizing. They're very, very cool, and I don't think that they're a big deal. They're absolutely not ban worthy.
Oh, agree.
They just warrant needing to save an extra removal spell every once in a while, or
They
like,
f Is it weird that I think that they feel a little nastier than
yeah.
the old
Oh,
ones?
they
They
absolutely are.
there's like a little bit of a snap to them. I can't describe it, but it's just like they're not again, you're correct. They're not ban worthy, but like when you look at them, you're like, "Ooh," just like a hair.
You want to know what it is?
What?
They're not outright nasty enough that they self-police themselves out of the format. Like old
Yeah.
Jin and old Vornclex, you hardly ever see at a commander
Nope,
table.
not for me. I play old Jin. I know. I always I play old Jin. Sorry. I'm a monster.
Okay, so like you're the only one that plays old Jin. I hardly ever see old Vornclex.
Yeah, I don't see him either.
Frankly, I don't really see old Shieldred that much either.
I see old children a lot, but only in specific graveyardy decks. She's a specific build.
Whereas like these newer ones are like just nice enough, just rounded out enough that
Mhm.
they don't self-select themselves out of the format. So you do see them. You do see them a whole bunch.
Is it weird that I kind of feel the opposite? I feel a little bit the opposite. And and like
Explain your work.
um the it's weird because their abilities feel more pointed to
Hmm.
me than the other ones do. Like I honestly I would say with the exception of Vorinclex cuz Vorinclex's old original ability being with the lands felt very personal because people are very touchy with their
Yeah.
lands and their mana
Yeah.
bases in commander, but everything else like these just feel a little bit more pointed in what they do in their abilities, like with Elish Norn. The original Elishnorn, you get a -2/-2. That doesn't necessarily really impact your board state because if you can still play the thing and get the benefit, but like the thing
Hmm.
will die.
Yeah.
But with like the new Elishnorn, that ETB benefit, you don't get it. So like it instead of having, you know, a benefit with a body, it's just nothing and it just feels kind of it feels bad in a sense. The
Yeah.
new Jin countering stuff feels really bad.
But
I
it's
played
only
a
it's only
commander
the first
game.
one, and
It is,
it's for
but
all players. So if you
yeah.
know that you need to get the board wipe through, you ask someone else like, "Hey, do you have something to pop Jin so that I can get the wipe
Mhm.
that we need through to take care of this?"
Mhm.
You know, it's stuff like that.
It
Uh,
does just feel a little bit more pointed to me. I mean,
mhm.
especially with the new Shieldred too. I played in a game um, where I stole somebody's Shieldred, and then they copied it, and then somebody copied their copy. So we had 3 Shieldreds
Yeah.
out on the field, and it was awful. It was
Yeah.
brutal. It was just da 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 every single turn. It was intense. It was
I was
intense.
playing a game with Olivia the other night, and we had 2 of the new Jins in play.
Mhm.
And you would think, "Oh, wow, like that's crazy." But here's the thing, both of the
Mhm.
Jins still only care about the first total spell cast that turn.
Yeah.
They don't look at 2 different first spells because there's only ever one first.
Yeah.
So it genuinely wasn't that bad. The Praetor that I don't hear anybody talking about at all.
Urabrask?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no one's talking about Urbrask. I'm
Yeah.
one of the people. I've started playing it a little bit more. I really like it.
Is it good? I haven't fiddled with it.
It blanks your opponent's first draw each turn.
Yeah.
So unless you have like that extra Phyrexian Arena or an extra way to draw extra cards each turn,
Mm.
the card you draw for turn, you have to use it that turn. Otherwise, you don't get it.
Yeah.
So it creates this like very interesting sense of urgency with all of your cards. Uh,
Hmm.
if you're only drawing the one card per turn, and you get an impulsively drawn second card each turn, you exile an extra card. So for a red deck or even a Boros deck, like that's extra card advantage that you get temporarily. But you're
Mhm.
probably built in such a way that like whatever you're exiling off the top, you want to be casting whenever you get it anyways. So
That's typically how I feel. It's why because I've seen him. I looked at him actually for that Praetor charity that that I played in. I had almost built Urabrask just because I'm a red player by heart. You know, I
mhm.
was like, he's the red Praetor. He's the only kind of thing that's speaking to me here. Took a look at him and I was like, and then I built mono green. Weirdly enough, but like I can I can see the interest and intrigue behind that. Maybe I just need to like fiddle with it a little bit more because there have been a lot of cards this year that have at first glance underwhelmed me, but then when I actually take a crack at it, I find that there's something actually there. It's just that perception I have is just kind of blocking me off from it.
This year cards have gotten wordier, but
Yes, they
in the same token, they have also gotten very intentional with their wording.
yeah.
And as you know, as someone who likes to dissect card design and lean into non-traditional ways of brewing decks or utilizing cards and stuff like that, it's been a treasure trove this whole year. You know,
But
all these different card designs, and it's made me go back
Mhm.
and look at older cards and
Oh
find I
yes.
wouldn't even say like find a loophole with the card, but like reading the
It,
card only
yeah.
explains part of the card. You have to read between the lines with a lot of these cards.
Oh
And
yeah.
one if you do, you get this extra level up moment. Um,
And I love that. I love that. It's so exciting.
I'll use Najila as an example because Najila is like we could do a whole section of this show like trends for this year. Like
Yeah.
Najila has been, especially recently, this whole like she's the greatest commander ever printed. There's no such thing as a casual Najila deck. If there was no partners in CEDH, like she would be the de facto commander that you would play, and all this kind
Mhm.
of stuff. She is worded very specifically. There's no use of the word you, your, or you control, or anything like that. You can use all of
Mhm.
her abilities for your opponents, and that just blew
Yeah.
so many people's minds because they're so used to playing this card
Yes.
in such a specific certain way.
Yeah.
And people have had this like eye-opening moment with so many different cards over the last year.
Mhm.
from that have been
Um,
printed in like the last 5 or 6 years, and it's been so cool to see for me.
I had that with Cadric. I know I keep hammering home about Cadric, but I had that with Cadric when I first fiddled with him in the pre-con. It took me a minute to realize that it said legendary permanent. Is it permanent?
Yeah,
So there have been games where I was able to get two Nykthoses. You can get two legendary enchantments, and I was able to
disgusting.
keep two Nykthoses. It's just so
Yeah.
insane. Like that to me is so fun, and the wording with that leads to such intricate to brews that you just wouldn't believe, because you typically see non-land things
Hmm.
or creature like legendary creature, but like the permanent part was
Yeah.
fascinating because it opened me up to a new thing.
Yeah, that's how you got your planeswalker deck.
Yes,
Like, you've been on a planeswalker kick this whole year. Like, you are a Super Friends player now.
yes I am.
You used to be the redheaded aggro player.
I'm still there. We're just adding white to the mix for some reason. I
You're
don't
at
know.
you're adding white and you're adding planeswalkers. So
I love it. You can
yeah.
still be aggressive with walls of meat that don't move.
Hmm.
That's kind of what a planeswalker is. They
Yeah,
don't move, but
basically.
you can do something with it. But it's so fascinating to see that. Or I don't know, being able to find that little aha moment like you talked about. I don't know. We could talk about this forever, but like those little aha moments that you have with deck building is just
Yeah.
I have people who will look at a card I run and they just kind of write it off, but they when you kind of see it in action, it blows up. Like for me, that's repeated reverberation.
Yeah.
Every time I show people
You
my
love
list,
that
they're like, "Why are
card.
you running this? It copies instants and sorceries." And I'm like, "There is a third line of text there, my friend. That says loyalty abilities." And typically, I run that in Chandra, but the other night on stream, I played it and ultimated my Elspeth and got 3 emblems that said creatures I control get 2/2 and flying. So all my creatures got +6/6 and flying from a random red rare from 2 years ago from a core set. And it's just so good to have those little like, oh, moments. Like it's when you discover it, it's so exciting.
Do you want to do our rapid fire exercise, so to say,
Yes, I would love
to
to.
to close the show? So we have
Yes,
gone
indeed.
through every main set and every commander set. So
Mhm.
all the accompanying commander sets and then Baldur's Gate. And we've both have picked a main set card and a commander card that like really stood out to us and arguably became a trend setter somewhere. So it's
Mhm.
still kind of like on theme for this like macro level trend thing that we kind of talked about this whole show.
Mhm.
So the first set is Kamigawa Neon Dynasty.
Delightful set.
I think we should do on a count of three. We'll say our main set card, talk about it,
Mhm.
and then
Mhm.
on a count of three, we'll say our commander card, and then give a
Okay.
sentence or two why we liked it or why we think
Cool.
it's like a groundbreaking card.
Yeah.
So main set on a count of three.
Yeah.
One, two, three. Kodama of the
Fable
West
of the
Tree.
Mirror Breaker.
I love this card too, and it's like the most popular card in all the other formats.
Oh, I'm obsessed with it. I run it in my Citrus Treasures deck, which is going to be quite a few pieces on this list, unfortunately. But I really like it just because Fable the Mirror Breaker is just such a very fun um, in enchantment in red that accumulates value in a very fun and fun
Hmm.
and fun way. But like you get like a little goblin. I like that you were able to get the treasure without making contact. A lot of
Yeah.
treasure focused pieces that specifically focus on combat have you make contact with your opponent. So I think off the top of my head, Professional Face Breaker is one. Another one is the Grim Hireling
The
and
Copper
stuff like that.
Dragon. That's a big
Copper
one.
Dragon, and then you have that red blue enchantment from like Ixalan. We also make contact too.
Storm the Vault, I believe it's called.
Yeah. I like that you don't need to make contact with this. It gives you really good card draw. I also like that it kind of lets you control how many cards you discard. That's just for me
Hmm.
fun. But my favorite thing is specifically because of the flip. I love the flip.
Oh, of course, it's a Kiki.
Yeah, because I get double dockside. I get
Hmm.
double copper dragon. I get double that one black creature from Neon Dynasty that says when it ETBs, you may sacrifice a creature. If you do, you get that many treasure tokens equal to its
Ruthless Technomancer.
Ruthless Technomancer.
Gotcha.
I'm able to do fun, weird, weird stuff with it. I really
Yeah.
like it and you become a problem and it's very cheap to get that token too, but you do have to wait. And I like that it's just a fun, fresh little saga. And I don't typically like sagas, but I have two sagas on my list for a little rapid fire, but I love this card.
I think it's interesting for all the cards that we picked. We basically pick cards that we play
Yeah.
or like want to build around at some point, maybe.
Oh yeah. It's just that's how it is for me. I don't play what I don't like or I can like things, but I typically prefer to like do things that have like a hands-on experience with them
Yeah.
for me. What about you? You said what, Kodama?
Yeah, the Kodama from East West West.
Weast Wumbo?
The Kodama from Neon Dynasty that says if a modified creature deals combat damage, go get a basic land from your deck into play tapped.
That would that would be the West Tree.
Yeah, this year was like my basic land renaissance. Like in it's almost like you wrote an article about this last week that was heavily
I
inspired by a conversation that we had. My basic land renaissance is a people aren't running a lot of basic lands to begin with,
They
and
are
like we
not.
said, blood like just because treasures exist and have kind of made Blood Moon and all those different kinds of cards worse, doesn't mean that
Mhm.
people aren't running them to begin with. So what do? You run basic lands. They don't get affected by any of that kind of stuff. A lot of budget decks, in particular, as well, lean heavily on basic lands because it's the easiest place to cut costs on your deck is to play basic lands. You don't play dual lands or anything like that. You save so much money so that you have more money elsewhere in your budget for other cooler cards.
Yeah.
But the secret with basic lands is a lot of the ramp effects care about basic lands. So you just run a lot of them. And a lot of them reward you for doing things that Kodama does, where it's just like play the game, be aggressive, make things happen, and then you just also happen to ramp alongside of it. And Kodama was just this fundamental like level up moment for me that made me realize that like, hey, like we should be doing this more often because this is really, really good.
Yeah.
I literally cannot build an aggressively leaning green deck without that Kodama now. It's become that cornerstone kind of card for me.
Um Regarding my commander deck choice.
Mm-hmm.
Um that this is I think it I think it is the only, let me look at my list. I think this is the only blue card I have. Yeah, it is the only blue card. I think both of us have on our list. Or no, it's just
I,
me.
I I have two
Um
blue cards on my list actually.
Okay. You have two. I have one. Mine is Cyberdrive Awakener. This is
So
affectionately
cool.
referred to by the community as Mono Blue Crater Hoof. I cannot agree more.
Oh yeah.
I run this in my Cedrus Treasures deck, and it is my finisher. I don't like to win with Revel and Riches in that deck, although I do run Revel and Riches within my Cedrus deck. I like to win aggressively with treasures through things like Cyberdrive Awakener or Kappa Cannoneer or even Rise and Shine. But Cyberdrive Awakener is my choice from the precon because it is a house, it is a finisher, and it makes me feel aggressive in blue, which is very difficult for me to do. And I
Yeah.
love this
It's
card.
very difficult for a lot of people to do.
Yeah. What about your commander choice, precon choice?
I picked the dog,
The boy,
Yoshimaru.
the good boy.
I've not built a Yoshimaru partner deck. I'm not
Hmm.
I am not a fan of partner, but I have put Yoshimaru into a bunch of my decks because I love like legendary matters decks. And
Oh
Yoshimaru
yeah,
is like to me the quintessential legendaries matters one drop. Also it's a dog, okay? Like
yeah. He's a good boy.
but let's move on to New Capenna
Woo,
on a count of 3 for the main set.
for the main set. All right.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, Luxior.
Rabble rousing.
See, I'm surprised that you didn't pick Luxior for your pick.
I like Luxior a lot. I do. For me, it's not explosive like I would want it to be.
Hmm.
A lot of my pieces that I've chosen are kind of explosive pieces or pieces that are really synergistic. And while I really like Luxior, I am. It's how I am. If I could go back and change my brand, it would be like Redhead Aggro or something. But like,
Yeah.
I love Luxior, but it just doesn't feel explosive enough to me. Whereas Rabble Rousing is a very explosive enchantment, and
Yeah.
I used to do a lot of token decks back in the day. I have never seen an enchantment literally say, "What if you just not never worried about combat?" Never worried about combat because you can swing entirely out at a person and not have to worry about blockers because if you swing 30, congrats, 30 blockers. That's just insane to me. That is literally insane to me. And I love it so much. It's just such a fun card.
Well, here's the crazy thing with rabble rousing. Rabble rousing is hideaway.
Yeah.
It also gets you a free card like a turn or two
Yep.
later.
It's a free card and it's worth $1. It replaces your entire like I don't see how that's not insane. I love it.
For me, Luxior was, to go back to one of my themes earlier, Luxior was a real like read between the lines sort of card.
Yeah.
And specifically, it was read between the lines because of Jared Carthalion, the Wooburg face commander from Dominaria.
Yep.
Jared, the minus ability lets you put counters on a creature for each color that it is. Well, if you put Luxior on Jared and then use the minus ability and target Jared, because of Luxior, that minus ability is essentially giving Jared +10/+10.
That's
I
so
thought that
good.
was like the weirdest, quirkiest thing. And I've been obsessed with this card, trying to find like every cool use for it ever since. And
Oh
like
yeah.
every day, I just find something new with it. Those are my absolute favorite cards of all time. Because until the end of time, there will always be something new and weird that you can do with Luxior. It's
Yeah.
literally the card that keeps on giving. Let's do the commander set. This is where things get
Yeah.
spicy because New Capetta Commander was literally my favorite set of the year. There's so
Okay,
many cards.
interesting.
It was so hard to pick a card here.
For me, mine's kind of like you look at it and you go, okay, that makes sense.
Hmm.
Mine is resourceful defense.
Yeah, that
Um,
makes sense.
Planeswalkers, loyalty counters. It's so great because it's like Ozolith, but for your loyalty counters, and it's so it saves me.
And you can move the counters whenever. So there's a lot of like weird, quirky, read between the lines things that you can do with
Mhm.
it. Like I totally see what you mean with this.
Yeah, you can save one of your planeswalkers mid combat if somebody's swinging like 13 at your car and you go, oops, 5 moving all my counters.
You can also move counters over onto a new planeswalker and immediately ult it.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Repeatably at instant speed,
Yep.
which is so insane to me. It is yeah, and I think the reason why it slept on is unfortunately because it's a white card.
Yeah.
Like it's $4, which is pretty good, considering, but
It
like I think it could be more.
My commander card is Protection Racket. I talked about it last week. It's like my favorite
Yes,
card
you
of the whole year.
did. Yes, you did. You love that card.
It's Sylvan Library meets Extortion. And I love the suspense and the memorable moments that it creates at a table. I love that they've leaned into this direction of life loss and life manipulation for Black's card draw. It's like it's made it so much more interesting than just
Agreed.
Necropotence or Demonic Tutor or Razaketh and like all that kind of stuff. Like there is
Yeah.
suspense, there is politics, there is table talk involved with all of this. And with Protection Racket in particular, because your different opponents see the cards and they see the board state while they see the cards, if I flip over a card like, say, Supreme Verdict, and we know we need the board wipe,
Mhm.
if the person flipping over the Supreme Verdict also wants the board wipe to happen, they're inclined to give you the
Mhm.
board wipe. But if the person with the best board state and the one who doesn't want the board wipe to happen is the one that's
Mhm.
flipped on Supreme Verdict, they are very, very, very incentivized to not let you get that card and lose the 4 life. Like I love that dynamic
Oh
that
yeah.
depending on the seat that you are at the table, your decision might change.
I was gonna say some of the best moments in my opinion are when, and this is gonna sound really funny, but I think it's the best moments with that card are the most simplistic. When someone goes, "Do you want to pay 0 life, or do you want me to get this land?"
With the way that I have Celebrity Deathmatch built at this point, uh, I love the game of, hey Chase,
Yeah.
do you want to let me have this land, or would you like to lose 0?
I would like to lose 0.
Hey Andy, can I have Rise of the Dark Realms, or would you like to lose 9? Just immediately after that, like
It's so funny.
I love that. They printed so many cards this year that just fit this bill of they create memorable, engaging moments. I don't think a year of Magic has ever had this high of a volume of cards like that before.
I couldn't agree more. Genuinely. I think we're experiencing this interesting shift right now. Like we're in a very interesting in between phase.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm nervous but excited to see how it goes.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of nervous but excited, let's talk about the
Mhm.
set that we both were kind of like medium on. Like
Yeah.
that segue?
Dominaria United.
You want to do main set or you want to do commander set first?
Let's do main set first
Okay,
because mine for these are, it's gonna be so brief because they're so self-explanatory.
sure. Yeah, go for it.
All
What do
right.
you got?
Uh, Urza Assembles the Titans is my second exception to the saga rule I have because I don't like sagas. Um, what can I say about this card that I don't love? I'm obsessed with this card. It is a planeswalker card. It is perfection. It is perfection for planeswalkers. Because if you're struggling to find a planeswalker, it gets you a planeswalker. If you have a planeswalker in your hand that's a little too expensive, you put it into play. Or if you're just feeling a little excited, you can just get double activations of your planeswalkers. And the cool thing about it is it has read ahead. So you can pay 5 mana to just do the last ability and don't do anything else.
Yeah,
And that is so much fun. Love it.
there's so much combo potential with that card. And
Oh yeah.
there's the Saga Commander from Kamigawa that removes counters from sagas, so you could do
Yes.
stuff like that over and over again.
What about yours?
My main set card was Braids.
Really?
Because again, going back to my logic with Protection Racket, it just creates a point of engagement and a point of conversation. At some points, a difficult decision.
I did not expect that from you genuinely. I know that I'm literally staring at your list
Hmm.
right now physically in front of me, but I just didn't see that. That is a weird surprise. I didn't expect you to go for braids.
I love cards that make the table talk, and Braids was a card from that set that like really gets a table talking. It really gets a table making decisions. And I like the fact that it's opt in. So yeah, surprising, but when you think about it, it makes sense.
Definitely. Now, sashaying into the commander precons for this set, I will have to say, light of my life, fruit of my loom, it's Cadric. Cadric. I love him.
Oh
He's so
no, I'm
good.
so surprised. Who could have ever seen this coming? My card is very selfish. It's General Marhal Elsdragon. I mentioned it earlier in the show.
Yes, you did.
It literally makes quote unquote the worst mechanic of all time a good mechanic. So it makes Rampage a like good, cool mechanic.
I feel like you and Dana have a lot in common because I edit the EDH Recast podcast, and
Oh,
Dana
he
has
loved this
nothing
card.
but he has nothing but nice things to say about General Marhal, like all the time. I think it's been like 3 episodes in a row that he's brought up this card.
It makes you read between the lines. It's like what cards get better the bigger they get, even if they die. So if you have Marhal and these different cards in play and they happen to be blocked and they still die, you just get that much more stuff. General Marhal Elsdragon is also a card that makes two of my favorite cards of all time absolute all stars and like hallmark centerpieces of the deck.
Hmm.
That's Nakatl Warpride and Stone Tongue Basilisk. These are just like weird old cards that like really weren't played. They have like super niche effects. I love them, and Marhal Elsdragon makes them super playable and like some of the best cards in the deck.
It's also very exciting to see uncommon commanders get love and appreciation too, especially within this year. We've seen a lot of uncommon commanders get attention, get bruised, get decks, get high on the
Get
popularity list, which I
like
just
a
think is
sub
fabulous.
format of Commander
Yes.
with like the whole artisan renaissance that Kess has kind of pushed.
Love it. Go Kess. Go
Yeah,
Kess with
seriously
Artisan. I love
though.
Artisan. But it's absolutely fantastic.
This has been my like I know last week I kind of said I didn't really brew a lot of the new commanders. And I want to brew more new commanders. But the ones that I did brew are like literally my favorite decks that I built this year. But let's keep going. We have two sets left, or like
Yes, we do.
two sort of like releases left.
Yes.
So what did you pick for Baldur's Gate?
For Baldur's Gate, for my first piece, Descent into Avernus. I love me a Descent into Avernus. Again, another piece for the Cedrus Treasures deck. It's
Hey,
just
remember when you
superb.
didn't want to run this card and I said you should run it and now it's your like one of your favorite cards from this year?
Hey, remember when I told you to stop bullying me publicly? Maybe you should do that.
I will stop, but this is like the quintessential example of I don't know if I want to run this. And I was like, Chase,
So
just trust me. Run it.
so the reason why I was hesitant to run it was because even after my 7 years of Magic experience, concept of your life total being a resource has never really been a comfortable thing for
Sure.
me. I still
Okay.
struggle with it. I grip to that 40 life like it's my last bit. But I'm slowly coming down from that more and more as I have become more comfortable in my deck building process. And so Descendant to Avernus was something that I was like, ew, it hurts me. But now I'm like, I need the pain to thrive.
My Wooburg in Christ, you are a burn player.
Fair. My Wooburg in Christ. Are you kidding me?
This card is like absolutely absurd though. Like I love this card
Oh
so
yeah.
much. Gets games moving too because everyone gets burned. Everyone
Oh
gets
yeah.
treasures. You're just probably gonna burn your opponents a little bit more because you're running Reckless Fireweaver.
Just a teensy tiny bit. Or a Disciple of the Vault. Or a
Yeah.
Nadir's Nightblade.
Yeah. What was your other card?
My other card was Black Market Connections, which I mean, I feel like that might be a cop out because it is like, in my
It's
opinion,
the new Sylvan
basically the
Library.
card. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is so good. It literally makes the price of that party precon, but it
Hmm.
is so good. I love
Shout out to the
it.
party
It's
precon for real though.
Shout out to the party precon for real. Yeah. It's a good spell. I love that you don't have a choice. And I know that's a weird thing to say because typically commander players want access to choice. I like that you don't get one. You get choice of how many options you choose, but once that card is out on the battlefield, doesn't matter. You got to do something. There's no may on that card. The word may does not exist.
Yeah, at least have to lose the one and make a treasure.
So it's so funny to just play this early game and and go, you know what?
I'm taking the
Let's do it. Lose
6.
6 life. Lose
I've
6.
literally never seen someone not take the 6 almost every
It's so
time.
fun. It's so fun to do.
Just like a lot of people these days, they don't even look at the extra cards from Sylvan Library. They're just like, take the 8, snap it. I don't even
Yep.
need to see these. It's cards.
Life is a resource, baby.
The only life totals that matter are 0 and not 0.
Oh my God, ambulance, but not
Not
for
for
me.
me.
You're making me slowly become comfortable with the concept of like life as a resource. And I think Black Market Connections and Descent into Avernus are two very interesting choices from this set that have both kind of reflect that theme. I've noticed. Yeah, I'm here for a good time, not a long time. Come on. What about you? What are your choices?
I picked 2 Big Dumb Timmy cards because secretly Baldur's Gate was a Big Dumb Timmy set for me.
Yes.
So I picked Majestic Genesis, which is Genesis Wave, but hard set for your commander's mana value. I just thought it was cool that there were a whole bunch of cards this year, and even the end of last year in Innistrad, that cared about the mana value of your commander and got better the higher the mana value of your commander. Because we've seen so much
I
stuff that
Yeah.
is just like, the most efficient commander, like everything's a 4-drop nowadays or a 3-drop and has like 7 lines of text and draws you cards and has keywords and all this kinds of stuff. There wasn't really a reason to run big dumb expensive Timmy commanders anymore. I like seeing more cards that tell you play that big spell, play that big
Mm,
dumb commander. Speaking of big dumb Timmy card for big dumb Timmy players, this is like
yeah.
one of my favorite cards. My other card is Legion Loyalty.
Jesus, of course it is.
This
Nasty.
card is insane in my Gira deck. This card is the reason why I built Jetmir in the first place, because I
Yeah.
wanted to animate my lands and attack with them so that the lands would have Myriad.
It's so grody. It's so grody. It's so fun. I've seen it do so many things. Because again, imagine this with ETBs with like
Yeah,
Catherine's Crusade, Altar of
exactly.
the Brood. I mean, it just oh.
But
I
let's talk about our last set real quick and finish up.
have a controversial opinion.
Yeah.
Yes. I
Let me
have
hear
looked
it.
at the entirety of Brothers War. I've looked at it. I can look at the set and I can appreciate the set for what it is. It is a very interesting set. It's a very flavorful set. I think there's a lot of very interesting and fun things within this set. Do I have a card that I really like from the main set? No. I could not find a single one that I was like, I love this. Couldn't. And I also felt like that when I bought the product too, because I bought a box. I was sent a box. I bought a box. And nothing really hit for me within there. And I felt really bad about that. It's not that the set is bad, because I don't think it's bad. I don't feel the same way about Brothers War that I do Infinity. But it just nothing really hit for me. And you know what? Sometimes that happens. And that
That's
is an
fine. It's cool.
okay thing.
The set booster exclusive cards and the commander set itself were very cool and had a lot of very cool cards. But I think we
I
picked
agree.
3 set booster exclusive cards for our other cards because they were that cool.
Yeah.
Like, they're awesome.
Yeah, they were.
What did you pick?
I picked two because I couldn't decide because I really like both of them. Card number one is Sardian Avenger, which is a fun little goblin.
Hates on treasures.
Quite a yes, because it hates on treasures. It is literally like, what if I punished people for running value?
Mm-hmm.
He says whenever he attacks, he gets X0 until end of turn, where X is the number of artifacts your opponents control. Whenever an artifact an opponent controls is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, he deals 1 damage to that player. And I love this card because when he hits the battlefield, your opponents have to immediately, when you cast it, your opponents have to immediately crack all their treasures, because they can't do it after he hits the battlefield, because they're going to take ping, 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 ping,
Pain.
ping, 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 or they're going to take one big punch to the face. Because guess what? This guy also has trample, which is so
Mm-hmm.
cool. And it's just a 2-mana 1/1. He's so fun. First strike, too. I just really look at this card and it brings me a lot of joy, because I think this is the beginning of us seeing a lot of
Anti-treasure
treasure
stuff.
hate. Yes, exactly.
This was the
Within
year of
Magic, and
treasure.
this is the
Next year is the year of hating on treasure.
yes, and I love it, love it, love it, love it. The second card was actually one that you showed me originally. You put me onto it. Uh,
Yeah, I showed you how ridiculous this card could be.
yes, you did. Root Path Purifier. Lands you control and land cards in your library are basic. That just solves the issue of me failing to find in Gitrog Monster.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. It's just so good for lands decks for Gitrog. I'm obsessed. Like, I look at this. I bought it the day I could, and I slotted it into Gitrog, and I'm like, hands. It's amazing. I'm in love with this card. It's just so fun. The reason why this card is so cool is because it fundamentally changes how every deck
Yeah,
functions when you
yeah,
put it in there.
yeah.
It doesn't flow with the deck. It changes the entirety of the deck, which is so sick. I love it.
Your cultivate gets you Urborg and coffers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, what's not to love?
Well, not even that. My cultivate gets me my win con. My cultivate gets me that Dakmore salvage.
Actually absurd. Oh my gosh.
It is. It has literally streamlined this deck so much. So much. You put me on this. This is my big dumb green card for the for the choice.
See, like, we're ending on such a high note that I don't even want to talk about the Archimandrite. It's a cool card, but
No,
not as cool as
do it.
this is one of those cards that I keep thinking about building because it's like life gain but burn, but beats with monks and stuff like that. But Root Path Purifier is such a cool card that, like,
Oh yeah.
my head's stuck on it. Let's cut the tape.
Yep. Let's get to it.
Yeah. No, this year, as there's been a lot of cards, but they've been like some of the coolest cards we have ever seen.
Oh yeah.
And like the fact, where they're doing the whole casual play design thing, you're like really starting to feel their impact on Commander, on Magic, and just all of that kind of stuff in general. And it makes me really hopeful and really optimistic and really excited for the future.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching Bad at Magic. If you don't know who I am, my name is Chase, also known as Mana Curves. I'm a Commander content creator, streaming Paper Commander and Commander deck building on my Twitch channel, which is Mana Curves. You can also find me writing articles about Commander for Star City Games, and you can also catch me on Twitter at Mana Curves, where I just talk about everything I love about Magic, my life, and dumb little things that bring me joy.
And I'm at EK Plays Cards on all of things. I work behind the scenes with all of your favorite Commander content creators like Shivan Bot and the Casual Magic Podcast, and Alien Olivia and Elder Dragon Hijinks. So if you support them, you're supporting me. You can find this podcast on all of your favorite podcast platforms that you're listening to right now, or if you're listening to it on Spotify or Stitcher or wherever, we're on YouTube as well, and the whole visual, everything like that. So make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe to the YouTube channel, all that kind of stuff, and we'll see you next week.